Awesome. I'm Tiffany, and welcome to Wise Skies. This is one of our human design chats. This is our first chat that Leisha is going to lead. And so this is a question and answer session for everybody in our membership. We're also going to just welcome anybody who is new to human design or has been in their experiment a long time. It really doesn't matter. This is just a space that we're offering so that we can be able to ask questions about our own designs, our own strategies and authorities, and anything that we might want to be guided by Leisha. And I thought, Leisha, it would be cool if you could share your a little bit about your design. And I wanted to be like your stats, but that wasn't the right word. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the speaker view over to you. And if you'll just share a little bit about your design and get us kicked off.
Yeah, thanks, Tiff. I am what's called a 1-3 splenic projector. And that is really, a projector is here to guide once correct and once operating as a correct projector, and not trying to be a hardworking generator their whole life. Once a projector is correct, they're able to guide through asking questions, like the art of the question. And that's kind of, it's sort of a way to guide the energy on this earth, right? And so that's what projectors are here to do. And that is what I enjoy doing. We're here to be invited to guide and then ask questions. The 1-3 profile is called an investigator martyr. And that's, you said we're bumping around and figuring things out. That's what's considered the third line. And of course, human design has its own language, and all of these things are major rabbit holes to go down. But I'm here to investigate life, kind of like my own mystery, life's mysteries, looking for clues, collecting data, digging into things, researching things, wanting to get to the bottom of things, and then bumping around with it and trying it out, trial and error, kind of like this call right now. We're like, cool, let's just put it on the calendar and see what happens. That's totally that. The martyr term, of course, means much more than that word in the human design language. So yeah, I'm really designed to ask questions, get to the bottom of things, and help others get to the bottom of their core concepts, right? Because that's part of the investigative function. And then as a splenic projector, that's what's called my authority in human design. That's my inner guidance. And we each have a different inner guidance according to our inner authority. And that is really an intuition, knowing in the now. It's a spontaneous decision. It's a quick thing where I just, say I get an invitation as a projector. Hey, can you share what you see? Can you maybe ask me some questions? Can you help me figure out what I want to do here? And then if I get the splenic, alignment to do that, then I'm invited, and it's correct for me to move in that direction. So just as a splenic projector, a 1-3, I'm here to investigate life, bump around and find out, ask questions, and really to help others find their own fulfillment, right? And that's kind of how I find success in my own life. So it's sort of all interconnected. Does that was there anything else that comes to mind to share with that?
No, I just think, for the first call, it's nice to kind of introduce yourself in that way. And, I think people can listen to some of our other stuff for more about how you got into human design. I just really want to have this space, and April, if you guys came to the table with questions that are about human design in general or specific to what you're going through, or if you have like a life issue that you wanted Leisha's take on, guiding you through, then this could be, I wanted to start there because that's what those spaces for. And if you're like, I'm just here to learn something, then Leisha and I'll go through some of our questions.
I definitely brought something.
Oh,
yes. So, yes, it's hot gossip. So I'm a,
Hot take.
just to give everyone an idea, and obviously Leisha has my info as well, but I'm a manifesting generator, 3-5 profile. And I have emotional authority. So that means, typically I have to wait a full 24-hour cycle before having emotional clarity around any given thing. So the way I'm kind of integrating that in my own life is, waiting before I give a firm yes or no, giving myself some time, because my classic move is to overcommit or over anticipate how much I'm going to want to do something. And then it comes around and I'm like, this is like draining me so heavily. So that's kind of my world. I specifically wanted to ask, and I don't know the exact right question, but I recently had really this week kind of a blow up with a friend where apparently I did something that really upset her. People I've talked to feel like it's blown out of proportion hugely and that I didn't do anything wrong, but this person is just kind of out of control emotionally, which is a pattern that has emerged. But I have such a hard time like detaching from this person, even though I feel like I keep getting thrown into this like emotional tornado cycle. And it's almost like when people come at me with really strong emotions, my response is to shut down, and I just have like no idea how to handle it. And in Enneagram world, it puts me in stress. I go to my 9, I'm a 3, I go to my 9 space, which means withdraw, shut down, retreat, cancel everything, hide under a blanket. And like, that's what I want to do. Even though I am not conflict avoidant, I can handle conflict in business way better than I can in personal relationships, because business feels unemotional, relationships feel incredibly emotional, and that the stakes are so high. And so, yeah, just like curious about really like the best way to look at my own patterning and how to set myself up better to not be maybe in these situations, or even like what is the best way to handle it per my human design, based on everything Leisha, when something does come up like this, when there is kind of a high stakes emotional situation.
Yeah. I'm looking at your chart, of course, and you have that emotional definition. So I think that, that is a very common pattern and mechanic with someone that's emotionally defined, is they just shut down, because what it is it's sending you into a low emotional wave, right? So the solar plexus center and the emotional authority works on a wave, and it's just high to low. There's all kinds of different ones crashing, depending, at different frequencies and timings, depending on the person's design. So, and it's just a chemistry. It's not anything that you can be like, oh, just kidding, I'm not going to get triggered and go into this low wave. Now, over time with deconditioning, the triggers will change, and you will be able to you'll find that you're like, oh, I'm just observing this person really escalated. And it makes me think the friend could be open solar plexus. So they're going to, anywhere we're open in the chart, any centers that are open, or channels, but centers is what we're kind of looking at, then the person is probably amplifying whatever you're feeling. So there's that element as well. I think that again, just remembering this is chemistry and trying to kind of not respond in that. And the other thing that I find to be really helpful in those emotional interactions, especially personal, is really just remembering that you're here to handle intense emotions, but maybe the other person isn't. Like someone that's emotionally defined, those simply because you are used to having these highs and lows. Just it's part of your chemistry since birth, since conception, I suppose, in a way, to where it's you're used to handling those, and the other person is not going to be used to that. So I think just recognizing that they could be amplifying something you may be feeling, and just sort of pulling back and kind of almost using your detached, shut down feeling, that can shift into like detached and watching and just seeing sort of the interactions that are happening, the mechanics that are happening. And then it also can be like am I do I feel anxious right now? Is this kind of triggering me into a low wave? Because once you get down in the low, you might as well just, hey, I need a little space. Can we come back to this later? Or how about we take a little time with this and come back to it later? Because the biggest thing for an emotional being, of course, that's defined emotionally like you are, is to just buy some time, like, can I get back to you on this? I hear you. Can I get back to you on this? Because I'm feeling, and what I find, like, my partner is emotionally defined. So I find that if he says, I just need a little time. Like one time he said this thing that was just so cool for me to hear, that awareness is like, yes, we had this discussion, it was triggering, but like, now I just need to deal with the emotional fallout, like in my body, and it's not anyone's fault. There's no reasons. It's looking for the reasons in the emotions. That's the trap, because it's just the chemistry and it just needs to move through. So yeah, were you gonna?
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say like that. I love that concept of like, I just need to let my body go through it, because it does very much feel like, I'm riding a wave, and just giving myself time. I also really like your comment about it being just chemistry. Like it's not something wrong with me. It's not something I can like fix my way out of. It's just like, this is just the way it is. So that kind of like, I don't know, can help me maybe have more grace with myself as I'm processing through.
And you're saying exact words that in your design. I mean, this you have this gate of grace,
Yeah, amazing.
So in your emotional system. So that is exactly it. And I love how you said the thing about like, there's nothing I can do to really fix it or get my meditate my way out of it or whatever. Right. I mean, those things can probably help. Being alone is going to be the key, and also just not externalizing that low part of the wave, and also I think that there's this, it's painful to be in that low wave. The other person's going to amplify it. So yeah, it's painful to them, but being in the low wave as an emotional being, you feel that what I've studied and experienced as a pattern is that it feels like, oh my God, this does not feel good. It's never going to end. I'm down in this thing. It's almost like, it's not a logic. It's not even it's just this mental feeling sort of that happens, or this mental, this chemistry that happens where you feel like you're down in this low wave and it's never going to end. And I need to do something to get back up here because this feels great.
Yeah.
Literally. And I want to be back up here. This is devastating. Mm-hmm. This is intense. And so I think exactly like you said, just being like, you know what, recognizing, hey, I'm feeling kind of like I can't have a neutral discussion right now. Can we give this some time and come back to this? I care about what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I think we might need a little space to kind of clear this up a little bit, and then we'll come back together.
Sure.
And almost, I feel like most people, when you're triggered, you're like, no, I want to, now, like the other person might be.
Right.
Like I have in the past, because I'm open emotional.
I'm that
open emotional. But yeah, what'd you say?
I said I'm that other person. Like,
yes, like I might push it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's have it out. Yeah.
Yeah, like no, let's do it now. Like I want to resolve this now.
Right. I don't want to continue to feel this way while I'm waiting on you to get done feeling right. I want to feel clear, and I can feel clear now. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the dynamic,
because we don't have the wave.
And what I want to learn really from April is that, like, what is it like when you get emotionally clear? Because I want to kind of call you out on saying wait 24 hours. I think it's brilliant that you wait 24 hours, but it might be 89,000 hours before you get emotional clarity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I want to know what it feels like to have emotional clarity from you on your wave.
A great question. I think it feels like, I think it depends on the scenario, but I think it feels like joyful anticipation. Mm-hmm. Like I'm looking forward to doing that. Like I'm my body is like ready to be in that moment, and I can like visualize it, and I know what to expect, and I feel good about what I'm walking into. Where I feel when I know that I'm off, or like I've made the wrong choice, like I have clarity but it's negative, is when I'm dreading it. I feel resentful, overwhelmed, like, I don't know, just it's that low side of those things. It's like, yeah, two sides of one coin.
And I may not have asked it right, but what I'm trying to get at is like, okay, I know I can guess what it feels like when you're high and low, right? But when the wave stops, where are you like, okay, now I'm emotionally clear? Is it just because you're in that joyful anticipation? Is that what you're saying?
I think it feels, yeah, I don't know that I know really. I'm trying to think of like a specific example when it's been super, super clear. I think like coming out of the wave, I'll put it this way. It seems like things kind of neutralize, and it's like a neutral clearing. Like, so yesterday, kind of going back and forth on text with this person, I was like, pit in my stomach, feeling so stressed out. Today I feel neutral about it. And I'm like, whatever happens, it's okay. And so it's kind of like almost like an moment, like just feeling more neutral, not feeling triggered, not feeling even excited, or it's just that like baseline. So coming back to a homeostasis, maybe that's when I know that, okay, I'm clear, because I'm not up, I'm not down, I'm neutral.
And do you know what your motivation is in your design?
I don't.
It's fear.
It's fear. Okay, perfect. So my partner is also emotionally defined, or what word do you say for that?
Yeah, defined. Yeah.
Okay, and
Emotional authority.
You're motivated. And so I think it's interesting to learn from you, because when you're talking about your emotional clarity, that to me feels like hope motivation, where all is forgiven, it's a new day, nothing matters, we're like, it's just the sun is shining, everything's fine. And that can get me into trouble sometimes, right? But I think I think that your motivation might also shadow the way that you're talking about emotional clarity. And I'm just learning from you. It might sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, everybody.
No, I love it. What is like, how would you talk about motivation? Like, what does that mean? Is it literally you're motivated to, is it like, like martyr doesn't exactly translate as the same definition in our normal vernacular. Is motivation the same, or is it different?
So motivation is, when you're operating correctly, it's really like what it comes out in what your motivation is behind what you're expressing to others is actually where it comes out.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like when you're following your strategy and authority, which of course is wait to respond and then wait for clarity over time of what your says after your wave, through your wave, when the clarity happens, then it's, kind of after it's after a few different steps, but basically the motivation is how what you're saying comes out to others and how it's felt to others. But you can sort of also use it as like a bumper to see if you're kind of in the right thing, because with fear, it's, I don't know if we want to go to into all the different ones, and I can definitely share yours with you, but it's really a tool to see, am I expressing and looking at things in the right way? Or am I doing the opposite, which tells me, oh, okay, this might not be correct for me. Let me back up a little. Like Tiffany is hope, right? So she's supposed to bring hope to others and supposed to kind of be like, oh, this is the way forward. And these are some tools you can use and da. Now, when people don't hear that and she starts feeling like she needs to get in there and fix it for them, that's the opposite of hope. She's just supposed to be in hope. She's not supposed to actually go into the opposite of it, which is called guilt, to fix and like, so it's when when Tiffany notices, oh, I'm actually trying to fix it now. Okay. I'm out of hope. I'm out of my proper motivation. I'm out of what I'm here to bring to humanity. you know, because each person has a different thing they're bringing and it's all essential,
then
she can pull back. What'd you say?
I bring fear.
Yeah. Well,
that was my question so she brings fear.
Well, it's, I know it sounds really funny. It's, let me pull it up just for,
Thank God we've got
I want to read the right thing.
You'd all be running into the mouth of the saber-toothed tiger if it weren't for me.
Well, there do need to be people that are, you know, focused on that, right? In the totality. Now, does everyone need to? Hell no. You know, like, no, there's so many other perspectives and motivations to bring. So fear is the fear of, let's see, I can't quite see it. Hold on one sec. Let me move it over. It's the fear of not having any kind of certainty about the way you can empower your own survival is what drives you to get to the bottom of things in order to create a solid foundation in your life and eventually get to a place of security. Now, if you find yourself that you're feeling, you know, on the other side of fear, the opposite of fear and motivation in human design language is called need. So if it makes you feel needy and dependent on others and like you're starting to think that in order to survive, you need to have this and that, and you need to have these people teach you certain rather than your own investigation, finding what you need to know, then you're in transference of your motivation. You're in the opposite, and it can be like, oh, okay, wait, I'm feeling needy. Let me sort of look at that. Is this correct for me? You know, and am I waiting to respond? Did I wait for clarity? Using your strategy and authority, you know, so it is like about sharing what you know, when invited and when it's correct in your design. It's about like finding what is essential so that you can survive, right? And then sharing that and getting to the bottom of that. But when it starts to be about like others and you need them and whatever else, that's not what it is, you know? So it's kind of almost like an individual path.
Yeah, I can really relate to that just in this specific scenario. Feeling like, like everything you're saying super resonates with, it's even funny, that feeling of like needing, you know, kind of how I get clarity. This is so, you're just like giving me words to describe to you what it feels like. As I get clarity, I feel more and more secure in my own self and less tied to like whatever they are doing. I don't need it, or it's not attached to me. I'm separate and I'm okay. And so when I feel separate and okay, regardless of what they do or don't do, a situation, a job, you know, whatever, then I feel good. And I think it's that like over attaching and needing, like crap, don't, you know, like I've got to fix this because I need it. No, that's when I'm off. And
oh my gosh, it gives me chills to hear you say it like that, because it's exactly like, that's exactly it. And it also, I hear all the other parts of your design coming out in what you're saying, you know, like it's just, it's magical how that happens.
It's so great. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. It's perfect.
And you're the one, we have a session tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was, of course, just looking at yours, and I think you are also, let me just check before I even say it. I have you already pulled up. Oh no. Okay. So you're not fear, you're desire, motivation. So we can touch on that if you want.
That was kind of why I came to this session, not because I had questions, but I'm one of those people that like to do a lot of research ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I did print my body graph, which of course I don't understand.
Right.
Which, you know, I will tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I read the initial article that Tiffany had on Wise Guys, and I was just wondering if there was anything else that I could read or read up on before tomorrow, so that I would kind of know more about what you were talking about when we had our session.
Yeah, I usually send some links afterward, but I could shoot you over some of those beforehand too. It definitely in no way hurts at all.
I figured the more I knew, the more questions I could ask.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll get deeper, and it'll be more rich. And the thing is, you're like me, you're an investigator martyr. You're a 1-3, you know, And you probably see that on your body graph. So yeah, you do, like, that is the wanting to dig into things, wanting to figure out the, what is the foundation here? Kind of like, I need a little more details here. And not everybody, that's the thing, is we also have this thing in design. And once we see the mechanics, it's like, we feel like everyone is consistent in that area, right? Everyone wants to investigate and wants all the details, right? Well, no, not necessarily.
That's what I thought.
Like my oldest child has one first line. He does not care about the details. He doesn't want to research. It's not about that for him, And so it's just interesting to be like, oh no, that's my unique thing. Wow, I can really be that now. I can really just embrace that and fully step into that, instead of, like expecting others to do that, or trying to be all these other things. Like, no, I'm an investigator and a try it outer, I don't know if that's an official term, but that's the 3 part.
It is now.
It is now. That's right. It's official. So I can email you those links, and there's a couple podcasts. There's a couple of audio files and things that are from the source founder, the material, and then some other resources. So would you like me to send that to you before?
Sure.
Maybe after
this
session?
Great. I think when I set everything up, I sent you my email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that on there. Great. So I should have that. Yeah.
Thank you.
But yes, you are desire motivation. We won't get into that in the session tomorrow. But, if you're curious, I'm happy to just give you a little snippet, kind of like we did with fear. Or I find that motivation for me has been like a huge like tool, I guess, to see how, if I'm navigating, and it's a feeling too. It's like, something's not feeling quite right. And it's like, oh, okay, actually it's because I'm in this other motivation that's the opposite of what I need to be in, So yours is called desire. And the opposite of that is innocence. And I actually have innocence motivation. So it's cool that we can kind of, share the experience of it being the opposite motivation, because we will both experience both of those. Okay. Because it's kind of, it doesn't just fix onto like Tiffany's hope motivation. She's not going to always be in hope. That's the point. It's like, it kind of teeters back and forth, but it's a tool to see, oh no, okay, I'm out of hope, right? I'm fixing. Let me go over here back to hope. So with desire, it's like it's like this driving force, which locks you into what you're here to learn, understand, investigate, in order to fulfill your purpose as yourself. And then it like that empowers your own survival in this world. And with desire, I always think of like leading goals. Like you have a specific, you want to get involved. You're here to get involved in the things that are the correct things for you, which we'll talk about the mechanics of that, in your session. But it's what life brings to you that you over time respond to, basically. Once you get that that's what you're supposed to be involved in. You're supposed to just surrender to that, The other side of that is innocence. And it's really like when you're in the transferred motivation, that's the human design language, is transferred, is kind of like the opposite of what you're here to be motivated by. It's called innocence. And it's rather than taking responsibility and getting involved and dealing with challenges and, on your path and things that life brings, it can be more attractive, or you might find yourself sort of being passive a little bit. Like, I don't want to really be involved. I'm just going to kind of see what happens. And some things are going to be that because they're not correct for you. Like maybe you got to, I don't need to get involved with that, So it's an interesting sort of set of bumpers to kind of just observe, and I mean, maybe you've seen some of this, but it's all an experiment. Like there's no, now you shouldn't be an innocent, like it's more just like, well, let me try it out and see how it feels, and see what happens over time and what my life transforms into, So that's kind of a glimpse at yours, is really, it's getting involved, your motivation, meaning when you express to others, when you're sort of moving through this life, when you're being correct, is really to be sort of driving things forward, being involved with the correct things, leading the correct things. And not necessarily just sitting back and not being involved. So does that resonate with you?
Both of those.
What's that?
I said, I've done both of those.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
we will,
Yeah.
right? I've done both of those as well, even though I'm more supposed to be the not involved, right? But there are times that it's correct to get involved. So we'll talk about, the tools, and I mean, the strategy and authority, it's always going to come down to that as a core. Talk about our first lines investigator, finding the core thing, which is what investigators line ones are interested in and drawn to and here to do naturally. I mean, that's a core thing, strategy and authority. Like if nothing else sticks, like someone's strategy and authority is going to be transformative, really, for the mind, for the body relaxing, for that passenger consciousness, which is really a huge key concept in human design. It's like letting the mind just sit in the back seat and watch the life. It's not meant to make the decisions and tap the driver on the shoulder and constantly be like distracting and causing resistance and all these things in the vehicle, which is the body. So the passenger consciousness is really is the key, right? So that's been huge for me to keep in mind. It's just sit back and enjoy, just watch, look out the window. Oh, there's a rainbow. Oh, look at the, look at that wreck that happened. Like, or whoa, that's falling
really
down.
Hard time.
That looks
I have a hard time doing that.
Oh, I know. Well, and it's a, there's dilemmas within the mechanics, because the mind never ever wants to do that. Okay. And it's developed a lot of strategies and defense mechanisms from before birth to protect us, right? So it has a hard time just sitting back. It thinks it needs to protect and drive and decide and manifest and all these things. But, and then with passenger consciousness, with that concept combined with your desire motivation and some of your other things in your chart, that's kind of the experiment. It's like, how does that unique chemistry and frequency show up in you? Because that's what you're here to be, is all these sort of dilemmas. But it's like it makes so much sense after practicing with it and experimenting with it for a while. It's like you can feel it. You're like, oh, okay, that's how that shows up for me, So it's
looking forward to our session tomorrow.
Oh, good. Me too. I've been looking at all your things, so I'm like, oh, there's Anne. Hey, I see and feel what Anne feels like. So me too. Very excited.
All right.
You have a really unique design.
Oh, great.
as we all do. But like, okay, Tiffany, she has all centers defined except the root. So isn't that? I mean, that's like usually there's more than that, more open centers than that. So it's a cool experiment for me to get to sort of look at your mechanics and then talk about them with you and learn from you. You can tell me what that is like, and then I can put that in my little investigator's journal in my mind and learn. So I'm excited.
And maybe some of that comes with getting old.
Well, and that's, yes, like there's a lot in your life process where you are at this point that you probably could teach everybody, So
you freaked me out when you said I have more than my root center open.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Just clear.
Yes. Well, but the root one is the one you're most probably aware of a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the open head and ajna. And then I think you have the open emotional system. So neither Anne and April have defined emotional centers, and me and you have undefined.
Okay. Oh, interesting. We're making a little group. So I think that's why
we're on this side. You're on that side.
You were just organized. A good 1 3 activity.
Just categorizing.
But I think that's why I was interested in learning about, because of that open solar plexus. I feel very affected when people are having emotional or need an emotional timeout. It's almost like, because that is open in me, it's almost like a vacuum or something where I just go right into it with you. And then I'm like, how am I on this crazy train? I'm not, if it's just me, I don't feel that way. But it's because of that openness and being around a defined one, I feel like I'm on this huge emotional rodeo. And it's not wrong, but the more I can observe it, and be like, oh, they just need to ride out their wave. I can have patience and understanding for that. But that's where my curiosity comes from, because it's like Leisha said, it's like, well, isn't everybody just a 1-3? Doesn't everybody just not want to ride that wave, like, and yet I am 5'3". I do weigh this many pounds. I have blue eyes, and you have an emotional response system. Like, it's not something you can train your way out of. It's not something that you want to improve. It's just your nature, right? And so first of all, I mean, I guess really the only thing is knowing our designs for ourselves. And whenever something doesn't feel good, just your human design to me has been such a great tool in saying, okay, where is something off here? And am I out of my element? Am I out of my design? Have I done something? Has my yes meant no? And am I in a bad sequence of events? Is something that Leisha and I talk about a lot, right? So it's not like you're wanting to improve what is. You're wanting to learn what is, because I feel like we've been so homogenized, right? Like, we've been taught to be a way, or this is how our society or culture is supposed to act, or this is what achievement means to us, or this is how you're supposed to have a friend, or this is how you're supposed to grieve, or this is how, you know what I mean? There's so much psychological conditioning, like, just read this book and you'll feel better. Like, maybe not. Maybe that didn't speak to one element of my design. So if something feels off in me, I go back through, there's not self questions, right? Am I coming from a place of not myself, not my design, not my true nature? And are there course corrections I can make for me? Why am I thinking this thought is something that Leisha and I have talked about a lot too. It's like, okay, April, in your example, because you gave us a specific one, right? Why am I, when you go back to your private time, right, to ride your wave, which is really kind of unfortunate, I guess, that in the sense that it's not like you can just be like, I'm not going to be a mom today. I'm not going to go to work today. I'm not going to do this stuff. I'm riding an emotional. You have to be riding your wave while also doing your activities. And I feel for you in that, because that would be really, I mean, you can't compartmentalize that, right? Like, you have to go to work while also feeling bad about this upset situation. And so it tones everything, right? But maybe one of the questions, either the not self questions or the things that you could ask yourself would be, why am I having this thought? And that one has gotten me out of, I think, every bind that I've got myself into. Where did I set the ball rolling here? Why am I having this thought? Is it because she's got an undefined center and it's really no big deal? Because I think one question we didn't address is, in your question, is, and you're feeling like karmically bound to this person. You don't want to get over it. You want to understand what's there. You want to be her friend, or you know what I mean? Or that's what it felt like. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Well, it's like, I don't know. I don't have this situation with other people. And so I'm like, what is it about her? And it's been for the last 6 to 9 months, it's been wave after wave after wave. And I'm like, why am I
having this thought about her?
Yeah, exactly. Why am I even putting myself back into this relationship again and again when this is what keeps happening?
That's the ticket. And then watching yourself and observing yourself, right? And then deciding some other things and seeing how that feels, and worse or better. You're just taking notes, right?
Exactly.
I mean, in April, you're so, individually like defined. I mean, it's most of your definition is individual, like, so, and self, like, being individual is mutative to others. So if it's not the correct other, and human design really shines a light on that. You don't have to do anything about it. You just respond. Like, is this person coming to you, and asking, or is it like, just evaluating that I don't know the answers, but like Tiffany said, like, the self-reflected part of it is, like, again, like a core thing, that I mean, you're mutative. You are a mutative human being, and you're here to be that because it empowers the other. Now, it's very uncomfortable for another person that's not the correct person, or even if they are a correct person. I mean, I have a friend who's super individual, and sometimes it's like, it feels like a lightning bolt is hitting me, you know, and that's uncomfortable. And sometimes I walk away going, ugh, but then self-reflected consciousness, why am I thinking that? What could that have shown me? You know, what does that tell me? What clue can I add to my investigation with this? And it's like, it mutates me. It leads to some kind of insight, some kind of lightning bolt realization for me, you know? So that could be, there could be something there that's like, it's just, this person may not want to be mutated. No, it's not like you're doing that. You just are that.
Yeah, that's a really good
I don't know,
point.
just a
Is
concept.
it like, when you say that, would it be like people would be better around me if they're willing to mutate, right? So like if they're on a growth journey, or like they want to evolve, is that what you're saying?
Well, I think like, because once, it's almost like that's like a mental game, which this is about taking the mind, you know, letting the mind sit in the back seat. So I think that you can't, it's going to be what is brought to you through response and then clarity over time. Like that's the only way you're going to know the correct people that are there to be mutated. And maybe it's still uncomfortable, but they're the ones that, you know, are on the path in your sacred geometry in this life that are supposed to be on that path to bring you certain things, and you bring them certain things. So this person might not be, you know, someone that is supposed to continue with you. And I mean, also with the third line, you know, you have the 3-5, and all four of us on here have a third line in different spots in our profile. It's bonds made and broken. So maybe it's time for a broke. I mean, you don't have to do anything. Just, you could just wait to respond and see what happens. Just don't even.
Yeah, that's good.
Reach out. I don't know.
It feels very black and white. Like it's either we're best friends or we're over with this person particularly. And I'm like, why does it feel like such a duality, like, or a binary? Why is it so binary? Why can't, because everyone's like, just like keep her as like a casual friend. I'm like, I don't know that can work for her. I don't know if that can work. I'm trying to explore that. I tried to do that actually, and I don't know, it's like she's not accepting it, so it's weird.
Well, of course, you know, looking at the other person's design is ideal if we can
obviously
get that and see what the mechanics are. But I mean, also just, it can be a painful side, you know, like you said, there's two sides of the same coin. It's like the third line is bonds made and broken, trial and error, the martyr, you know, we're going to discover what doesn't work by kind of messing things up.
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
It may be that that's just your, like, it's almost like the painful side of that is you feel like you should continue being friends with all these people and whatever. And it's like, well, bonds made and broken, like there's just going to naturally be, maybe it goes apart and comes back together. Maybe it goes apart and doesn't come back together. Or maybe it's, you know, I mean, the space for a third line is huge, because the bonds made and broken has to be within the mechanics somehow. But again, we don't have to mentally do it, you know? So I don't know. The big thing with human design is, like we said, the passenger consciousness. It's like being surrendered to whatever life brings, because life is taking care of us. We don't need to strategize money and bills and even though it feels like that, of course, because of 90,000 years of humans having to think that way and being evolved that way. But we're past that now. So I don't know, just as it's painful, right? Because it's like a bond that may be broken that you want to not, you know, to be made. But I would say just don't do anything and see what happens. That's kind of a good, you know.
I'm going to send you her birth info, not that you need to have or anything now, but just to have it.
I want to ask some questions too, because I'm here to learn. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So like, do you find that if you're on an emotional wave with this person in particular, could you look back and see, did I wait to respond, or did I initiate? And I just wonder if being out of the integrity of your strategy and authority have anything to do with setting that wheel off, or
yeah, I initiated this.
Yeah.
And this is where it's
I
so
love how
funny.
you just went with it.
I initiated. Well, because like I knew she was mad at me. And so I was like, hey, you want to tell me what's up? So I asked her instead of waiting for her to come to me.
So you asked her a yes or no question.
Yeah, that might, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
And she was like, yeah, I do want to tell you what's up.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you were like, come on in, emotional wave. I'm ready to party. You know?
I did. I was like, let's go. And it was like, woo, okay. Right. Like I caught that wave. The last time we had kind of an issue, Leisha, I don't think I do have birth time. Okay. The last time we had an issue, I completely just withdrew and let her come to me. And that resolved better. That was better. Yeah. But she, in that situation, she had identified that she was more in the wrong. Like that was something she was claiming as like on her to deal with. This was something I did. So yeah.
So no matter what time I enter, she's a projector with open emotional system.
Also, I want to just not do other people on.
Okay, right.
You know, like I want, like, yeah. But yes, good to know she's a projector. So.
And there's projections, but yes. Okay.
Yeah. I got projected on in my dream last night and people put me in a straitjacket. So I know how. Oh, no. It was a weird projecting experience, but I don't want to interrupt your flow. I just want to be really sensitive to people's private info. But I am curious. So I just wonder in your experiment, if you could just notice, when I'm out of my design, what happens? When I initiate, what happens? Now, if you got some cleanup work to do, because you maybe need to make an apology or something, what's the correct way for her to do that mechanically, Leisha?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, again, if it does depend on the other person, but for you, I mean, you can always ask questions, you know. I feel like if you reach out, it's initiating, but if the other person is a projector, then you could also invite, you know, them to, like, kind of like you did, would you like to share what you see, you know, or what you're, you know, what you're thinking or whatever. But I think that, you know, I would probably just wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always going to be the answer for almost every type and design, you know.
We can wait and see.
Just wait and see. I mean, maybe y'all would run into each other at the store and maybe it would organically happen, or maybe it doesn't, and that's what it is, you know. Or maybe she reaches out and yeah, I don't know. That's what
I'm waiting right now. Yeah, we ended in a good spot and I'm like good-ish and I'm just waiting and I'm gonna wait. That was already my plan. So
good. Perfect.
I feel really good about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to say one thing, if it's okay, Tiff, to something you said earlier, which I love. It's like human design, like it's almost like over time, it's the deconditioning thing. Like you talked about, why am I thinking this? And kind of looking at like, did I initiate? Did I not wait for clarity? Did I, whatever? So reflecting back on that, but what that does over time is it clears all the, like, if you can think about kind of like, it's like muck, like dirtying up or, you know, sort of fogging up our vision, like with the way our mind is thinking, because we think, you know, this and we think that, but it's like, that's not even who we are. Like what human design does is tells us, this is all you need to be. You don't need to be like thinking about things that don't matter and trying to be certain and trying to be strategic and whatever, if that's not your design, you know. And what it does is it starts clearing that slowly, and it basically is like this radical self-love, radical self-alignment of like, I'm individual, you know, or whatever your particular activations are. I'm individual. I'm going to mutate. I'm going to have bonds being broken. I'm going to try stuff and fail. I'm going to make mistakes, which means I can't make mistakes because I'm here to make mistakes, you know? So let me just be that and not worry about, you know, any of the others. So I just love how you were talking about kind of, you know, that over time, it's like this, what we call deconditioning. And it's just this radical self-alignment that there's nothing, you know. that I've ever had from any modality or studies or that I've done. So just want to add that.
That's good.
So on a casual note, I was watching this documentary that I didn't know was fake. And I like did this with football too. I'd be like watching a game and be all excited. And my dad would be like, why are you watching something from 1985? And I'm like, it's not live, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, I just don't TV a whole lot. But I was watching this documentary that I thought was real, but is actually fake and making fun of another documentary. But in it, it's a guru situation, and one of the devotees or followers is like so glad to find this father guru because his real dad wanted him to work a job, and some people should. It's not like all human design is here to tell you you don't have to work and you can lay on the river. It's not like that. But what I saw was this guy was having so much self-hatred because of the way that his dad raised him to be this type of person, you know, which in his case was like work a job, show up, do these things. And when he found the guru father, he was so relieved he could just be who he was. And that sense of relief, you know, and and so I don't want to say I have the opposite experience. I think we all are conditioned to be that which we're not, right? And so when you get that, to me, the gift of the body graft and all of the clues, right? The astrology, the Akashic records, tarot, all of the little clues that we offer are very helpful. But there's HD is like that sigh of relief that I don't have to be who I'm not. And in fact, it's making me worse if I'm trying to be who I'm not.
Yes.
And you don't, it's not a switch for me in my experiment. It's not like, oh, now I know, so everything's okay. It's like what Leisha, you were just saying about that shuffling out period. In yoga, we would call it the polishing of the heart, you know, the polishing of the mirror of the heart, right? So if our friend Betty taught me a great technique of putting your face on other people's faces. And so you're just looking at all of these different fractals and treating each other as sweetly and innocently and hopefully and desirefully and fearfully and all of the things that we are. There's this old story about like walking into a fun house and seeing a gajillion mirrors, right? Because we are all reflecting each other. And my human design doesn't even matter if it's just me alone on Tiffany Island, right? What's curious is how we can learn from each other. And I love to be alone. Like I really need more alone time than I think most people are in my life. Most people in my life would like me to have less alone time, right? But the idea is that the human design interaction, I think that's what I'm hoping to get out of these calls, is to learn from each other, see the different interactions, and know that there's not a perfect way to get through this, that it's not a light switch on and now I have the tools and I'm just, it's kind of uncomfortable, you know, and in fact, if it is uncomfortable, you're probably growing. So one of the things that we haven't said yet is kind of the HD tagline of simple but not easy, right? And so I want to be sensitive to the time. We just have a few minutes left. And I'm just curious, April and Ann, did you get something good out of this hour? Would this be beneficial? Is there something you like the Q&A, or would you rather us have a structured talk? Anything you can tell us would be fun. You don't have to do it now, but think about it over time. Let me know.
Anne's on mute, but she was saying.
Anne, you're muted. Oh. We want to hear you.
I'm muted because my dog was barking.
Oh.
And he's very loud. No, I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed it being at noon. However, I go back to work on Monday, so noons won't work for me. But I enjoyed this setup with having some stuff initially, and then being able to hear what other people are experiencing, because this is all very new to me. I've read a little bit, but yeah, not enough.
It's a lifetime study. You're never
gonna
know.
Yeah.
You know? You just read what was right for right now, right?
Yeah.
I loved having kind of an open forum. I think I could also equally benefit from maybe having like you covering, like I love that we talked about motivation, like having like a nugget that you want to talk about briefly, and then we can all like ask you questions about it. Why are we we're like fingers?
Oh,
I was like, I
we
wanted
went
to
off on a
know-
nugget
yeah.
thing yesterday about motivation. We're like, nugget of motivation. And then you just said nuggets. So of
No
course. I was
way.
like,
Of course.
We're like, ah.
We're psychic.
So perfect.
Yeah. So that's my thought.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We didn't hear anything because we heard nugget.
Okay.
Just went off on a thing.
Yeah.
Our passengers were like, nuggets, nuggets, out the window, there's nuggets. We're driving by nuggets.
But yeah, if you had like a small topic that you wanted to dive into, then we could ask follow-up questions about that, but maybe like a 10 to 15 minute spiel on like, we're going to cover this thing. But I liked having a lot of room for discussion and asking questions. Like it would be cool at some point to just like drill you, Leisha, as a projector. So like, okay, how do you navigate with the projectors in your life? And as people kind of learn their own design, other people's design, that becomes more relevant, because if you don't know anything about yourself or anyone else, then you don't know what types of people are in your life. But
it's tricky, right? Because you want to just study yourself, and you want to study yourself in relation. So you want to be careful to not overdose on what does the other person need and want, because that would be the opposite of fear for you.
Yeah, true.
Like you're like, what do they need? Instead of just my thing. Leisha's proud of me for getting it.
I know. Need and fear. You did it.
Yeah, but we're working on this as a workbook so that people can understand through the aura types, and I think that'll be like your biggest thing to, I guess, chew on first is going to be your aura type. What is Anne?
Emotional manifesting generator 1-3.
Okay,
1-3
so similar to April.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to go, guys. I love you. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Yay, thank you, April.
Thanks for being here. All right. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and close the call. You guys, you two have each other's emails. I think for anybody watching the replay, if you want to ask questions ahead of time, would you be open to that, Leisha? If anybody wanted to email?
Absolutely. I would love that.
Okay, so Leisha is Leisha at wiseskiescollective.com. Leisha at wiseskiescollective.com. So if you have questions, but you can't be here at noon, we're trying to do the first Thursday at noon. So it builds up over time, but we'll just see how it works for folks. And thank you, Anne, for sharing, your space and energy and time. We're all here to learn from each other. I can't wait to hear how your session goes. And
me too.
Me too. I'm excited.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.